Hello, Booktube, and welcome back. So, November is done. We are getting closer to 2026. This year is going so fast. It will be Christmas soon, folks. Oh, yes. I have already been eating like an absolute pig, a savage. I have had so much Christmas cake and mince pies. For those of you who live in the UK, I absolutely adore mince pies. Send me your mince pies. I love mince pies. I'm like a savage. I will eat every mince pie in front of me. I love them. So, this is what I read in November 2025. Let's go through them. I've had a fairly good reader month, to be honest with you. I don't mean the volume of what I've read, I mean the quality of the books that I've read. Uh, I tend to relax a little bit more after the Bailey Gifford. Bailey Gifford was back in September. It's when I usually read nearly 18 books a month or whatever it is. Towards later on in the year, 10, 11, whatever, I don't really care. Nice relaxing rundown of the year, but one, I believe, this time around, well, maybe one and a half, who knows, all but one and a half were really good books. So I think I read 11 or 12. I've got them in front of me here right now. I can't be bothered counting them. So here we go. Let's go from the bottom. So the first book I read is book 5 of the Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club books. This is The Impossible Fortune. This is the one that came out this year. I love this series. It's really good. It's kind of like an updated Agatha Christie kind of a novels where the senior citizens trying to work out a crime. So again, being the 5th volume of a series, I don't really give away too much, but Joyce is kind of sorting out her daughter's wedding. Elizabeth's still mourning. You got Ron who's trying to protect, and he's got family issues. You got Abraham who's having a lot of social sessions with a criminal or ex-criminal, and this is all about the gang solving a Bitcoin murder. There's Bitcoin all over this, and that's what the murders are about this time around. And will the guys do it this time around? Who knows? Just read the book, folks. I do. I really like these books. They're immensely readable. It's a quick couple of days. They read quite fast. Get on them if you've not read any of these Thursday Murder books. They are quite decent books. The next one I read was a reread, and this is by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's Death by Black Hole and Other Cosmic. I'm sorry, the font on this computer is tiny. And Other Cosmic Quandaries. So again, this is all up. Have I got the thing? I've got it here somewhere, but it'll take me a long time to find it. It's all about what we know about the universe. I love these kind of books. I really do. Do I always understand what they're trying to get across? No. But I still love them nonetheless. Nonetheless, but I don't think I've ever said this in any of these videos. I am into astronomy. I've got a few telescopes. I've also got, I'm into astrophotography as well. I've got loads of decent cameras and whatnot. I like to take a photo of night skies and stuff like that. But in the UK, when it's not raining or cloudy, being in the UK is like being in a massive, tumbleware box. We're like, come on, come on, come on, come on. Clear sky, clear sky, clear sky, clear sky. No. So, what book am I talking about here? I've gone completely off. Death by Black Hole. So yeah, if you don't know Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a great. I think he's the director of the Natural History Museum, and not the director of the Natural History Museum, the space equivalent, whatever it is. Yeah, and he's got, it's a comic flair all the way through this book as well. I think it's really good. I do quite like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he does put the science currently behind what we know of the universe. So death by black holes, the Big Bang, talks a little bit about the quantum. So pretty decent. If you're into your physics or your astronomy, pick up Death by Black Hole. The next one is by Beverly Gage, and this is G-Man, J. Edgar Hoover and the Making of the American Century. G-Man is short for government man. J. Edgar Hoover, it's a biography of J. Edgar Hoover, who was the first and longest serving FBI director in the United States. And it basically categorizes his life from early doors when he was growing up, all the way up to his death when he was still FBI director in the early 1970s. Doesn't really focus too much on his younger life. It really picks up, and the meat of this book is when he was, in government. And this book pulls no punches at all. I mean, reading the book, you could get a sense that the author Beverly does not like J. Edgar Hoover, which is fair dues. He was a hypocritical, nasty bit of work. Reading the book, he likes to chase down, especially when after the 1950s, when he proper started to stamp down on civil rights and the right to protest your government and what's the word I'm looking for? The protest against Vietnam. What's the word I'm looking for? Ah! You know what I'm talking about. Protesting the war. Whatever it was called. So yeah, it talks about how he ran the FBI for all those years. From the early 1940s, 1950s, the propaganda years of when he was making movies about himself and all that jazz. And also talks about his relationships with the incoming and outgoing administrations, and how bizarrely his probably because he was a conservative man, how is probably his best relationship with presidents was FDR and another three-letter acronym, LBJ, who were Democratic Socialist or whatever that means, presidents. It also talks about his homosexuality. That is because he was a conservative right-wing guy, so he probably hid it well, and it talks about all his life, and it's really, really well done biography. It's a bit of a chunker of a biography, but it's really, really good. If you're interested in the American government, because he was highly influential because he was FBI director for 30-40 years or whatever it was, pick up G-Man. It's really, really good. Next one I read was by Bernard Cornwell, and this was Sharpe's Triumph. I've started to read the Sharpe series. If you don't know, in the UK, Sean Bean played Sharpe in the 1990s to 2008 or something like that. And I think it was released on ITV, the channel ITV, but it might be BBC, I can't remember. I never watched it as a kid, but that's what it's known for, and it's based on the Sharpe books. These are pretty much historical fiction. It's basically old imperial days, and Sharpe is a sergeant currently in the books. I believe this is book 2. This is all about Sharpe getting revenge after a betrayal, a massacre. Someone's betrayed them, and that massacre starts at the start of the book. And it's all about Sharpe then hunting them down and getting revenge for the British government and His Majesty would be early 18. Yeah, it'd be His Majesty, wouldn't it? Fairly well done. Popcorn is what I like to call popcorn fiction. It's no high literature. It's pretty much just a nice basic historical fiction. And Richard Sharpe, the main character, is a bit of a Jack-the-Light kind of a character as well, which I really think is quite well developed and quite good. So pick up the Sharpe series if that sounds interesting. I might as well throw all these books together rather than separating them out. November this time round was a Booktube event called Dr. November, where people on Booktube read espionage or spy books. Could be fiction and non-fiction. This time around, I pretty much read 4 non-fictions. I was going to read some of the James Bond books because I've never read any of the James Bond books, and I'm a big James Bond fan as well. but I don't know. I never made the quantum leap. I couldn't be bothered at the end of the day. I just stick to non-fiction. The first one I read was The Illegals, Russia's Most Audacious Spies and Their Century-Long Mission to Infiltrate the West. This is by Sean Walker. And this is all about, Russian spies being embedded anywhere in the West. West Germany, France, Spain, the UK, Canada, the United States. And to embed them with false identities, and they'll live there for maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the amount of time will be, until they get activated, where they'll start committing acts of espionage against the country that they're based. And it goes from really early, before Soviet Russia, all the way up to Stalin's purges, and then Khrushchev, and then Soviet Union, and the full Soviet Union. So it covers a lot of years, basically a century, from start to finish. It's great. It's a good book. It's a really fascinating book, how people can just be in a country and have their lives for 20 years, but they're actually a spy, and they don't even tell the kids, because they've had kids in these countries, and they don't even tell the kids, and some of them don't even tell the husband or wife that they're a spy for another country. And it basically gives you a few names of what happened to them and all that kind of stuff. It's really, it's a good book there, so you pick it up if it sounds interesting. The next espionage book I read was The Umbrella Murder, The Hunt for the Cold War's Most Notorious Killer. This is by Ulrich Schoute, I believe. It's a Dutch name. This is about Georgy Markov, I believe his name was. He was a Bulgarian, I think I'm going to remember, and he was murdered on Knightsbridge in London in 1978. He was basically umbrellaed. The tip of the umbrella stabbed him in the leg. The next day, he died. And it's all about this conspiracy person called Franco, who hunts down the author, who's a sports journalist in Denmark, or is it Netherlands? I think it's Denmark. And it's all about, the first part of the book is all about them two. It's all about Franco saying, I know who killed this man because he lived in my attic. And it's all about them trying to get enough evidence to prove that this Francesco Gallini, I believe his name is, who lived in this guy's attic, Franco's attic. And so that's the first half. It's a bit of a slow burn, because you don't really know where the first half of the book's going, because the author's pretty much pushing Franco, the conspiracist, to come on, let me interview this Francesco Gallini, please let me talk to him. And Franco was like, no, you're not going to talk to him. I don't trust you yet to breach this and start talking to him, because the guy's proper conspiracy minded. He thought the Danish secret services were involved, the British secret services involved, the Italian secret services involved, the Bulgarian assassins are involved. So he's proper out there. Anyway, at the end of the first part of the book, the author's like, you know what, I can't be dealing with this. I'm going to call it quits now, Frank. So you do you, I'll do me, and let's just leave it at that. So 20 years go by, so part 2 of the book, 20 years go by, whatever it is, and the Salisbury murders happened in the UK, where the Russian fella got, and who else got, I can't remember, got poisoned in Salisbury in the UK. And so, what was his name again? Ulrich saw that in Italian and went, oh, hang on, do you know what, I'm going to chase this up again and see what Franco's doing, and see where he's up to. Gets on the phone, and he goes to his house, and he talks to his wife, and he finds out Franco's dead, and he died suspiciously, like Georgy Markov did back in 1978. So it's all about then the author trying to hunt down Francesco Gallini, not for just Georgy Markov's murder, but also his friend Franco's murder from 20 years before. And then he tracks him down and has an interview for him. And that's basically the book. One massive explanation there. It's a great book. I really did enjoy this. Again, it reads like a novel, like a spy novel, which, accolades to it. So pick that up if that sounds interesting, because it is a good book. The next one I Oh, still on the Dr. November books, aren't we? So, The $1 Billion Spy, a true story of Cold War espionage and betrayal, passes by David E. Hoffman. David E. Hoffman is a known non-fiction writer of espionage, so he knows his stuff, and it reads really, really well. So, this Soviet dissident, he didn't, he proper hated the Soviet Union, and wanted to give the CIA anything that they wanted in a short time. He wanted to do as much damage to the Soviet Union as he possibly, Tolkachev his name was, and basically that's how we started to feed all sorts of information to the CIA, about military planes, about radar. He's called the $1 Billion Spy because he literally saved the American government so much money on all this technology that Tolkachev was supplying to the CIA. Then it basically gives a bit of narrative of what was going on. Leave it as that, I don't want to spoil the end. Again, really good book. The only disappointing bit about this book is you don't really. There's a lot of bit of repetition, and I started the book. Okay, yeah, he's going back and forward. He wants more money. He wants a suicide pill. The CIA doesn't want to give him a suicide pill. There's all that kind of back and forward at the start, but you don't really get told why he's doing it, why he's giving so much information to the CIA, and why he hates the Soviet Union. To the end part. Jack it forward a bit, or drip feed us, give us a little bit, to keep us going. That's the only criticism of this book, but otherwise it's quite a good book. And the last book I read for Dr. November was the Operation Sandworm. This is by, I'm sorry folks, I need to scroll up a bit. So Operation Sandworm, The Hunt for the Kremlin's Elite Cyber Army by Andy Greenberg. This is all about the Russian hackers putting malware in all sorts of countries in the West, and what kind of destructive behaviour that can cause. Gives you examples like the Estonia 2007, when hackers managed to completely take basically the whole country off the internet. It talks about how the French and US elections were penetrated, different businesses were took over. It talks about how they hacked the NHS in the UK. So it gives you really major examples across the world, but it focuses a lot on Ukraine. And this book come out before Russia attacked Ukraine as well. So you got that coming. So something that the author didn't know at the time, but you could sense things building up of these constant cyber attacks on the Ukraine, on the national grid at the winter time, on different government departments. But I think right now, I think Russia's, I think the FSB or the GRU is using the Ukraine as kind of like something to play around with different malware, aren't they? If it gets a full-blown war with NATO, of how they can attack us. But I also think the Ukraine have also like, okay, yeah, if they hack this is what we can do to minimize the impact of what they've took down. So I think, as of all countries in the world, they're the most prepared for a massive hack on any of their systems. And again, this book reads like a novel. It's really, really interesting, and the author's trying to find the hackers behind these operations that are really. It's even talking about affecting like other countries like China and Iran, of taking their systems down. So this, and especially now with the advancements in AI, of maybe they'll lose control of the AI and the AI shuts them down, and it turns into like Mission Impossible 8, where AI hold everybody hostage like Spectre. Who knows where this is going to lead? But yeah, this is again a fascinating book about how, and it's not like you think about IT and you think, oh, this is going to be so complicated, hackers and stuff like that and coding. No, he breaks it down so it's very digestible and readable for just the average human being. It's really good. It's a really good non-fiction like espionage novel, non-fiction book. Okay, so let's get out of that. We're going to move to The Mission, the CIA in the 21st Century. This is by Tim, it's either Weiner or Weiner, I'm not too sure. So this is talking about the CIA history from 2000 to pretty much, I can't remember, I think the book was released in 23, 24, something like that. So pretty much the first quarter of the century, on how the CIA pretty much changed from pretty much, a redundant, because the Soviet Union had collapsed by that point, and relationships with Russia was quite good. And then 9/11 happened, and then it talks about the build up of the CIA until basically espionage and counter espionage came second, and how paramilitary forces became the CIA's bread and butter. It talks about a lot of the relationships with different intelligence agencies across the world, and how they've pissed off other agencies across the world. Obviously, the big one, the Iraq War. They found out who was the whistleblower. I can't remember his name. Who leaked that the CIA had the torture program. I think his name's John Kariaki, isn't it? John Kariako, something like that. Because they eventually put him in prison, didn't he, for 2-3 years, whatever it was. So the black sites of where they were torturing innocent people, and then basically, a large portion of the book is talking about counter-terrorism, and then it flips of basically when Obama got to the presidency, starts talking a lot more then about espionage and counter-espionage, then especially with the rise of China and relationships starting to fall apart with Russia. And then it talks about hacks as well, what I said before about Operation Sandworm, of attacks on systems. And then it's basically a big history between the CIA and the executive branch, on how it's changed their relationships over 25 years. And I think the book finishes with Joe Biden, of how he's trying to get his relationship better with the CIA, as Trump is basically putting people who he wanted, basically marks, yes men, in key positions in the CIA. And it's a really readable book. As again, I can't remember what book did I say in? Oh yeah, G-Man, about Beverly not liking J. Edgar Hoover. I think Tim is either indifferent to the CIA or doesn't like the CIA. It's one or the other. It's pretty much everything the CIA did bad, or tried to do something good but wasn't successful. I mean, surely the CIA must have done some good things in 25 years, but the overall premise of the book is repair and bad, repair, then bad, repair and bad. That's how the book reads. So give it a whirl if you're interested in the 25 years of CIA history. Next one, I'm starting to lose my voice. 23 minutes, Alex, what are you doing, boy? This is by Oliver Moody. This is Baltic, The Future of Europe. This is a fantastic book. This is probably definitely going to be in my top 10 of the year, unless something knocks it off. So this is looking at basically the avant-garde countries of Europe, if Russia was to attack the West, of how they were going to invade Baltic. The Baltic, if you don't know, is the countries north of Europe. It's that lake as well, basically Lake NATO. So you got, I can't remember, it's either 8 or 9 countries around the Baltic Sea. The likes of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Germany, Denmark, Finland, Sweden. Sweden. So it's all those countries around there, right? And I can't remember who I'm leaving off, I'm sorry. And basically, it's basically it's basically a history of each of these countries in 60 pages. And I think that's really hard to do and really hard to pull off. But oh boy, does he do it! Oh, this book is fantastic. It talks about, you know, the old Soviet days, or sorry, pre-Soviet days, and then being a Soviet satellite, and then finally getting their independence, and then how they joined NATO and how they're starting to prepare, and what basically the West can learn from it. And then after it does like all those, goes through all these 8, 9 countries and discussing like internal politics and all sorts, and it goes to talk about, you know, what would happen if Russia was to invade the Baltic, or wasn't to invade the Baltic, and how we can repair relationships. What this book I think does really, really well is the relationships, not only within each of these countries, but the relationships they have with other countries in Europe. That's absolutely fantastic. So well written and so well researched and so well packaged, this book. It is fantastic. I can't praise it highly enough. It's a really, really good book. Okay, so I've got 2 left. Let's go with Lincoln in the Bardo. This is by George Sanders. This is the book I didn't like. This is, again, I think it is a book. I think it won the Booker, to be honest with you. And it's all about, what's his name? Abraham Lincoln's son, Willie Lincoln, who actually died when he was a child. And it's all about him, I say limbo. I think the Bardo is like a Portuguese limbo or something like that, isn't it? And it's all about him being a ghost and encountering, I think there's like 150 different narrative voices in this book, and this book wasn't for me at all. I think it's put forward to say that this is like an alternative kind of book, alternative writing kind of a book, which kind of sends a shiver down my spine. You know, oh no, what does that mean? So no character development. It's not going to be like a formatted in like a nice way. It's gonna be different, and I think it tries too hard to be different, this book. And sometimes the narrative, you know, the different narrative voices, they don't always flow one after the other, and some of it is historical, some of it's fiction. And I just did not like this book at all. So it's a little bit of humour involved in this book. It's a bit funny. I think my favourite parts of these books are the African American voices behind this, but oh boy, was this book not for me at all. You know, because sometimes you get like a good paragraph, a good page narrative, you know, of someone doing something in limbo, and then the next page will be a sentence, then a paragraph, then a sentence, then a page, and it's like, oh, books like this really don't work for me at all. So that's why I didn't like it. I mean, people sing the praises of this book, Lincoln in the Bardo. People, you know, it's your flavour. You know, some people like dark chocolate, some people like milk chocolate, don't they? Well, I like both, but I don't know. Maybe that's not the correct term. But yeah, Lincoln in the Bardo didn't work for me. I thought it was a bit repetitious, a bit boring. The narratives didn't really work for me. So let's move on to the last book, because I'm heading towards 30 minutes here and waffling on. So the last one is a Star Wars book. And this is Shadows of the Empire by Steve Perry. This is set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and it's basically a filler book. This is my quest to find a good Star Wars book or good Star Trek book, you know. I've tried the new Jedi Order series, didn't like it, thought it was meh. So give this a really well. Now, I've read quite a lot, you know, there is good Star Wars books out there, and this one is all about a Prince Shizor trying to take the place of Darth Vader, to be the Emperor's second, and then eventually topple the Emperor and then become the galactic ruler. Prince Caesar is like this, he rules this Black Sun, this like criminal organisation, and to do this he wants to kill off Luke Skywalker, so make Darth Vader look incompetent, so the Emperor will replace him. Prince Esau for me was just like a playboy kind of a character. He's kind of like sold to you like as this really mastermind Machiavellian character, you know, but he doesn't really do much. All he does is like secrete pheromones to seduce women and change his clothes now and again. That's all he seems to do. But yeah, it's serviceable. You know, it's a all right book. You know, it's a Star Wars book. You're not expecting great literature, are you? So it's fairly okay. It's all right. It's all right. I'll be gentle. I'll be gentle. It's okay. And I've reached 30 minutes. And that's what I've read in November, folks. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, Booktube.